This hidden comic book is the reason why George McFly became a successful sci-fi writer.
Oh, what fun we're going to have together.
Trust in me.
It all started when I won this Back to the Future action figure from my friend Alex.
A comic bookworm! Congratulations, a comic bookworm. You won the Back to the Future Ultimate Marty McFly Tales from Space.
When I discovered this was a cover for a pop comic book in the movie, it got me wondering, is there more?
Look!
During the search, I had my first ChatGPT experience, good and bad. Ever since then, uncovering the hype around AI became another rabbit hole I fell into. Oh, cool! So, Tales from Space is first seen at the diner when Marty McFly meets George McFly. That makes sense. I do remember George McFly reading something at the diner table. So I said, you know what? I really wanna see that part where George is reading that book. So I decided to watch the movie. Right? I watched the movie yesterday. Yeah, I think so. I watched the movie yesterday. I watched the first movie yesterday, and ChatGPT, and I am freaking wrong. Oh man, ChatGPT, you screw me. Oh gosh. When I found this comic book, and no one named it as a prop comic book for the movie, I had to dig deeper into the movie and this comic book.
Mayor! Now that's a good idea. I could run for mayor.
There are a lot of books and magazines as props in the movie. This needs to be one of the main props for the movie. It shows who George McFly is.
What are you writing? Stories. Science fiction stories about visitors.
My friend Roger and I had a debate whether the book shown in the movie is a reprint or an original. Because of that, I had to find the truth. I will reveal that in this video. Meantime, no matter what, I had to have my original.
Newspaper terms 200.
It's a short explanation beneath a picture or other graphic. Isaac.
Why did I do that?
I fell in love with EC comic books, especially the Weird Science. Because of that, I started picking up any EC Weird Science books I can, even reprints like this. I didn't realize there's so many great talents working at EC Publications, like Wally Wood, Joe Orlando, Al Williams. I became a huge fan of their artists. Look at that. And here's some my favorite. Look at the. Oh, this is a exercise for the day. Well, let's get back to truth finding. Get back to these books. Roger's argument was prop people were budget conscious even back then in the 80s. These EC books from the 50s were highly sought after even back then. They wouldn't have been cheap or readily available. No eBay or Amazon back then. In comparison, these reprints were easy and cheap to find. They look identical except for the dollar mark, 10 cents mark. He says just simply cameramen have avoid those areas. Or perhaps they could have done some post-editing to blur them out. Roger, as always, made a lot of sense. My argument was a director would not have had the time or patience to micromanage cameramen, actors, and every little position of the props on the set. Post-editing just because of a single small prop sounded like an unnecessary headache also. I falsely assumed this EC book was randomly picked from a local comic book store. I thought they would have picked any comic book from the 50s that had the sci-fi theme on the cover. But after reading a story in this book, I realized this book was carefully selected for a reason. Before I tell you who is right or wrong, let me show you this clip right here. Let me see if I can scrub it back one at a time. Let's look at this comic book. Where is it? Is it right here? Come on, go back. There you go. There you go. So here's the fake comic book, right? Coming up. Let me see if I could get the good picture there, right there. You see right there? Capture that right there. Notice the EC that's supposed to look like a EC Comics, right? So let's look at this and make sure it is exact replica of the replica from the movie itself, right? So let's look at that real quick. So here's a good photo that I took right here. I'm gonna zoom into it right there. So it says fanatic, F-A-N-A-T-I-C apostrophe S, fanatic comic, C-O-M-I-K. I think that's how it's spelled here. If we look at it over here from the movie itself, the clip from the movie, see, that's showing blur, but I'm going to assume that's the exact copy of that, okay? Everything else seems to match up. Number 8, August 54, number 8 here, Terraform Space. And then look at this side here. Fantastic, right? With some kind of helmet looking thing, antenna. And here's a fantastic. So they seem to match up. Fantastic. That seems to match up. So we see that the replica intentionally, very intentionally made it look like a EC Comics, but they're not EC Comics, are they? Show you the photo of EC Comics here coming up. All right, I brought up the EC Comics. This is a photograph of the original Real Science number 15, okay? And I want to show you their logo. Let me zoom in. Let me zoom in here. Look at the EC in the center of that. EC in the center. Look at the EC on this action figure or the fake comic book cover. Is EC do not match. I mean, they're not exact same EC, are they? Right? And then the text circling the EC is written here as and entertaining comics. Here it reads as the Fanatics Comic. They purposely, intentionally, they intentionally made it so that that these logos are not exact replica, right? They are intentionally doing this. They're trying to, in my view, that looks like they're trying to avoid something here, right? They're trying to avoid something. Even this side text right here, fantastic, right? In the original EC comic book, Weird Science has a fantasy on the side with this little, I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. Some kind of tube or something, or some kind of container, smoking container or something. I don't know, but it's definitely not that, right? I don't know what these are either. They seem to be different too. LNID and NGND, they seem to be different there, but definitely, of course, title is different. Terraform Space, Weird Science, but yeah, I just noticed. So the reason I'm showing you this is because I want to show you how purposely, intentionally, the movie people are not making it exact replica of the original comic books. Let me show you the trade dressing for the original and compared to the reprint. So this is the original. Is it your left or my right? My right is original, and on my left is the second print from 1974, I believe. I'm not sure. Anyway, you notice this dollar right there, and this is 10 cents. But let's go and look at the EC logo. They look pretty same. I mean, fantasy here looks the same. The fantasy looks the same, right? But and how weird and science is centered are same. But let me go ahead and zoom in there. Zoom in there. Look at this. First of all, immediately you don't see this right here. You don't see these two things right here on the reprint. But look at this on the reprint. It says, and East Coast Comics. Then there's comic here, but an East Coast Comics. You see it? You see how different the logo is? Even the reprint versus original. And that got me thinking, what is movie makers are trying to avoid here? What are they trying to avoid? Let me see if I could bring that movie thing back up. Let me see if I could look at this. What did movie try to avoid? First of all, they try to stay away from the original logo. They try to be different, both reprint and the original. This logo is different than both. Not East Coast, not an entertaining comics, but try to look like original, right? They try to look like more like original than reprint. So this got me wondering, what have I been missing? Like, what have I been missing? Let me go ahead and bring one more thing up. Yes, this is a 1997 reprint of one of the Weird Science issue number 20, I believe. Yeah, number 20. Now let's go ahead and look at their logo on there. You could definitely tell this is not original, but the logo itself is back to an entertaining comic. They're missing these little two things right here, but this reprint is. But it's back to the original logo. Obviously, EC's right to the original logo will eventually expire or change hands. There's one more clip I need to show you. Clearly, the title is Weird Science. It has red background. This blob of silver looks like a racket. This blob of green looks like a dinosaur. We cannot confirm 3 spacemen, but let's just assume this cover is supposed to resemble Weird Science issue number 15 here. I'm pretty sure Back to the Future prop team avoided violation of copyright laws for their movie. Copyright? I'll give credit to ChatGPT on that one. It wasn't sure, but it guessed the prop team could have been concerned about copyrights to all the prop books in the movie. Although an entertaining comic was no longer in business, they may still own the rights to their logo at that time. Even East Coast Comics avoided using the original EC logo, even though they had the right to reprint the entire stories from the original. I'm fairly certain that this cover, on purpose, is missing pieces like this white strip with the letters fantasy here. I'm not even certain the fonts for the Weird Science is the same one used by the number 15 here. Given all that, I have to conclude Roger is right. And prop team used the reprint with a fake cover. I don't think this prop team would have destroyed the vintage book to make the prop when reprints were readily available. Now, how do I know for sure that a complete inside of the comic book was used as the prop? Maybe they were just blank fillers. Maybe it's not even number 15 after all. All right, let's look at this clip. You see that George has read a comic book here, right at the corner. Okay, yeah. Then we could zoom in there. There you go. I think that should be enough. Now, let's go to relevant page here. Bum steer. Look at this right here. You see this red dress? Red dress here. You see this black horse? You see the black horse here? They match. Again, the cover may not be exact duplicate of number 15. You might even miss a couple spacemen. You see, there just need to be enough resemblance to number 15 for fanatic fans like us to find it. That brings to my final thesis. This comic book was carefully selected for this movie, Back to the Future, more so than any other prop books in the movie. Let me flip through this story called Captivity in this book. Spoilers ahead. Nice splash page. Two mineralogists are looking for uranium in the Monument Valley, Arizona. So who else was looking for uranium? Doc Brown, anyone? Somewhere near the Grand Canyon. Their Geiger counter goes off and looks like they think they found the jackpot. They also find a good spot to camp, and looks like they're going to set up their generator. Yeah. And they have a power at their camp with all the equipments. When they're about to settle down, the Geiger counter goes off again, quite a bit louder, stronger, and all of a sudden something goes wrong with their generator and it explodes. When they come to, looks like they end up in a jungle, some kind of jungle. Not they. Well, it looks like they travel back in time. So who else traveled backward in time? Marty, anyone? Because you see these dinosaurs and by some freak combination of magnetic force fields and radioactivity. Pseudoscience right there. I think that is enough of a spoiler. I'm telling you, I fell into a weird science rabbit hole. If you don't want to fall into the same hole, don't find these books and read them. Don't watch these movies ever again. Don't you see? People who read comic books like this will go on to make movies like Back to the Future. And of course, they would have a character like George, who reads books like this and grows up to become a famous sci-fi writer. By the way, I am fortunate to have this original. They do not come by often. But there's a good news. It is a lot easier to get hold of these reprints. Let me share an editor's note from this reprint. Editor's page. It is. Once again, we would like to point out that our EC reprints are not now, nor will ever be collector's item. As in any collecting hobby, whether it be coins, stamps, cars, or records, the original is the thing that means something special. I disagree. There are things in this reprint that the originals do not have. Clear credit like this. Stories written by Al Feldstein and William Gaines. The Martians, art by Wally Wood. Captivity, art by Al Williamson. Miscalculation, art by Jack Kamen. Bumsteer, art by Joe Lando. Colorist, Marie Severin. Original books were awful about giving credits back in the 50s. They didn't seem to value who the original creators were. By the time 70s came around, it demonstrated here we do value creators of all these fantastic stories. This book went for $1 when every other comic book was going for 20 cents. in 1973. I told ChatGPT it cannot be a curator of facts, not because it has corrupt memories. It cannot because it keeps collective memories of us humans, whether they are fact or not. On the other hand, we humans have the never ending desire to hold on to a tangible piece of real history like these, fragile as they are. No ethereal, virtual, digital memories that are kept up by cold data centers that demand power to light up a small city. I am telling you, this reprint is curator facts too. Look, it has bios like this. Again, the original does not have these. Art of the issue, Joe Orlando. That is why I look up books like these so I could read more stories like Back to the Future and find out more about these creators who are far beyond their times. How would you like to learn more about Joe Orlando? Judgment Day. Anyway, till next time, let me know.